welcome. This is Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television from the economic hub of Nigeria, Lagos. I am Henry Igwebike. We kick off today, this beautiful morning, with the first daily we have. But just before we get into our newspapers for today, please do well to be part of what we do. Have a say in what we say. You can always find or reach us when you visit us right here at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. We have right here joining us via Zoom, Benga Komolafe, trade unionist, public affairs commentator, to see through all that we have today. Good morning to you, sir, and welcome to Enterprise Morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, sir. So let's kickstart today, interestingly, with the first daily on our desk, coming from the Vanguard newspaper. Big story. Afro basket win. The Tigress gets $100,000 each. Flats and the national honors as coming from the president and the presidency. Mr. Komolafe, I'd love us to start with this, please, if you may. Of course, we are not discussing sports and sports ecosystem and everything that goes around there, but it is as a result of the aftermath of what comes out of this. Just a couple of weeks back, the Falcons, Super Falcons, came back with trophy, and the president gifted them $100,000. Also, flats and the national honors. While all of this were raging on, the National Association of Nurses in Nigeria were on strike, demanding for what is due them. Veterans are still asking for their arrears to be given to them, and none has been given to them yet. And Nigerians are saying, are we really prioritizing on issues of national unity and equity as Nigerians?
Yeah. First of all, let me also congratulate our girls, the Tigress, for their great achievement. But I want to agree with the sentiment that the very generous gift by Mr. President to the young ladies perhaps can at best be described as over generous. And if we want to delve deeper, we might even say that it was just an attempt to actually divert attention of Nigerians using the girls' exploits from more serious issues that are begging for attention. First of all, as a trade unionist, I'm terribly concerned that with a minimum wage of 70,000 naira, which is just $34 for the average worker, and as we are talking, most state governments have still not yet they are yet to start to implement this paltry minimum wage. And now we are having this huge dole-out. $100,000 is about 150 million naira. Yeah. By Nigerian standards, by any standard anyway, that's a huge sum of money. And one would think that if Nigeria has so much to spare for these young people, who undoubtedly have done very well, then the government, of course, should do much more better for Nigerian workers. And like you rightly noted, this happening at a time when nurses are on strike and other sectors of the economy are begging for attention. So we will say that the government will do well to refocus attention to the more serious issues that affect all of us.
Very, very true. And lots of Nigerians would say, do you think, for the want of words, Nigerians might think that the president is not a listening president? We thought that the Super Falcons issue would send a strong lesson and message to him, but he seems not to be perturbed he seems not to be disturbed about that. So do you think that our president is not a listening leader?
Well, the Super Falcon, the Tigres, and all of that, just a little symptom of a terrible political system that seems to prioritize elitism and very elitist symbolic acts. And we also have to comment about the fact that generally the Tinubu government has been a spendthrift government. Of course, we know earlier in the early days of the government, we remember the very huge dollars to the National Assembly, to political office holders, the refurbishment of the Vice President House at very huge cost. I can't even remember the figures now. And of course, the purchase of very expensive yacht, the purchase of presidential jets and all of that at a time that a lot of Nigerians are actually groaning of hunger. So the latest act is following on a pattern that has long been established by this administration of symbols of very generous dolouts to very few people, while majority of Nigerians continue to wallow in abject poverty, and critical sectors of the economy remains in shambles. We talk of the health sectors, which is in a sorry state right now. We can talk about the education sector, which is also begging for attention, and so on and so forth. And of course, we all know that Nigerian minimum wage is one of the lowest, even by African standards. And yet we have a government that can be so super generous. I don't even want to talk about some of the bogus contracts that we have seen being awarded for projects that might not even constitute priorities. The Lagos-Calabar Express road project, for instance, comes to mind. The bogus amount of is it $13 billion US, at a time when critical sectors of the economy are really begging for attention. When, of course, the major road arteries in the country are also in shambles. One would have thought that greater attention will be paid to rehabilitation of existing roads. And if we are going to spend that kind of money, that we'll spend it, for instance, on rails.
Yeah.
That we invest more on rails, because it has been said that the lifespan of our roads are very short because of the huge trucks that ply these roads. And that the way to go for our type of economy and population size is actually to invest massively in rail transport, so that we can have the big haulage done on rail.
Exactly.
And the roads can be spared of the huge trucks that ply them and damage them, even when the few occasions we manage to control the roads. So we avoid these issues. Of course, people have draws also insinuation with this type of award of bogus contracts. That is actually a way of just fleecing the country. And so it's actually worrisome that while we have these misplaced spendings in the midst of abject poverty, and while critical sectors of the economy are begging for attention, and Nigerian workers are literally starving with the starvation wages they are earning, that's for the few of them that have jobs anyway. Of course, Nigerians have every reason to grumble about the $100,000 lages to the girls, despite the fact that we all actually appreciate the achievement of the young ladies.
Very true.
So definitely, yeah.
Yes, very, very true. Mr.
You mean the
Komolafe.
refocus? Yeah.
Yes, we have a very hypocritical set of those leading the country. And just to let us know that the just concluded Euro females tournament that the English club, went home with, it is stated that the English club were gifted a mere sum of $2.5 million to the team. On the other side, Nigeria gifted their own people about $4.5 million in total. And this is just to let us know how hypocritical that we have become in a country where we have less and still pretend like we have more than enough. I would love you to speak to another matter here. WASC results, only 38.32% of candidates passed English and maths. Sir, what do you have to say about this? It's becoming very ridiculous that in 2025, despite the population of young people we have, less number of people are no longer interested in education. Is this peculiar just to Nigeria, or is it an international thing, a worldwide phenomenon?
I wouldn't say it's a worldwide phenomenon, because I know that even within Africa, increasingly now, is becoming worrisome that Nigeria is not comparing favorably with less endowed African countries. Increasingly, it's becoming unnecessary to go to Europe to draw comparisons or to go to Asia. That even within our continent, with the generally low level of development, Nigeria is drawing poor in comparison to other countries. And we know, for instance, going like Ghana, Kenya, and all of that, they devote substantial amount of national resources to education. The statistics here remains worrisome, despite agitations by major stakeholders, including academic unions like ASU, over the years. The government needs to pay more attention. The UNESCO standard used to be 26% of the budgetary allocations to education, but consistently Nigeria has fallen short of even 10%. It has remained below, it has remained single digit in terms of allocation to education. And that's what is, we are seeing the effect of that neglect, that underfunding of public education, especially. Like we have said earlier, the minimum wage itself is so paltry. It's a general disincentive for academic staff or teaching staff at all levels to actually put in their best. The salary structure is such that the best are not attracted to the teaching profession, unlike what we have in other countries that actually devote enough resources to make sure that teachers are accorded a pride of place and adequately compensated so that they are motivated to put in their best. And so it's not a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise that we're having this kind of poor outcomes in terms of the performance of our children, and it has been a consistent trend. And even those that passed, the people have also raised question marks. That even for those that passed, there are lots of that they pass with a lot of underhand tactics, with a lot of exposure of exam leakages and so on and so forth. Of course, we also know the activities of some of the private schools that actually encourage their students to cheat, so that the schools will have very good records of performance. So even the 30% we are talking about might be questionable. At the end of the day, we all remember what happened to JAMB results the last time. The fact that the JAMB leadership itself has to own up and cancel some of the results. So The point remains that education remains underfunded. Teachers are poorly remunerated, poorly motivated. Educational inputs remain substandard. Infrastructures in most public schools remain dilapidated. Basic equipment, laboratory equipment, libraries, and so on and so forth are not there. And so we can't have this kind of situation and expect very brilliant results from our kids.
But do you think we can blame, do you think it's fair to blame those who are heading these ministries? Dr. Tunji Alausa, he is the substantive minister of education. The days when he was in school in the 80s, it was better. He saw all that happened. All of the opportunities there provided opportunities for him to be what he is today. Right now, he is heading the ministry, and there's been lots of issues coming from that same ministry with him as the head. So do you think it's fair to blame him to some quarters for the weakness that we have currently with the jaggedy age look of our education in Nigeria?
Yeah, well, as far as education is, the education sector is concerned, the buck stops as a stable, and so it bears a substantial amount of responsibility for the outcomes we have in that sector. I'm sure if we have had very brilliant performances, it will have been out to, beat his chest to say that.
To take all, the glory.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and now that it is otherwise, he must also take responsibility for the situation. Yeah, so of course, it bears substantial amount of responsibility for the poor state of affairs in the education sector, but it will be scratching the surface of the problem to limit the problem in that sector just to the Minister of Education. I think the situation with that sector is a reflection, it's a general reflection of the poor commitment of this administration to the social sector, to social development.
All right,
we talk about healthcare, we talk about education. These are critical elements of the social sector that are fundamental to human capital development.
All right, beautiful.
And if you don't get your human capital development paradigms right, then of course the fundamentals of sustainable development is really in jeopardy, and that's the situation right now.
Very true. Now let's move on to the Guardian newspaper for today, and I'd love you to speak to this matter because it's your catchment area, your area of forte. Aso Rock White House reaffirms trade ties despite tariff concerns. With what is happening, President Donald J. Trump is becoming the menace to world trade right now as we speak. Everywhere it is becoming a very difficult situation for business, like it were to be what is expected. But with the rift between the United States and Nigeria with respect to trade, what do you think is happening there? How would Nigeria take the upper hand, knowing that the United States is the emperor when it comes to trade and negotiation?
Yeah, a lot has been said about President Trump's abuse of trade tariffs. And it's not only in relation to Nigeria. Actually, he has used the tariff as a weapon of imperial hegemony. And he has violated the most elementary principles of international reciprocity that as a
Are you still there? All right, we're having a little glitch there, internet issues. And I had Mr. Komolafe talking about issues regarding Nigeria and the United States and the issues happening with regards to tariffs and the trade ties between the United States and Nigeria. It is the heatest issue right now. It's really ripe, and we do not know where that would go from here. Remember, Donald Trump is really poking his fingers on the faces of everyone and asking that every country should allow the United States to do what they desire to do, literally. We do not know if the government would allow that happen. Yes, so you were speaking before we had that glitch. You can continue.
Yes, the point being that President Trump has behaved like a big elephant in a China room and caused serious disruptions in generally in, international trade. For Nigeria, the impact has even been minimal because we don't export much anyway, except for crude oil.
Yeah.
You know, and so what has happened actually can also be an opportunity. It could be an opportunity for us to look at ourselves and the fact that we are still exporting crude at this several decades, close to 60 years after we started oil exploitation in Nigeria. Most other countries, including those that started long after we started, the oil-producing countries, have already achieved substantial value added in terms of local refining capacity to make sure that even when you export refined products. And when you are in that situation, you are able to diversify. So you are not at the mercy of a few countries that take up your crude, but you can actually diversify to as many countries as possible. And even within the African context, within the context of AFTA, the African Trade Agreement, we have a lot of latitude.
And where do you think the latitude is coming from? Where do you think it is coming from? Is it because of the leaders of West Africa or Sub-Saharan Africa not doing what they should do? If it is, what exactly is it they are not doing or getting right?
No, now I'm saying that we ordinarily should have a lot of latitude to trade within the African context, so that we are not depending so much on the West.
Okay.
And then we are so vulnerable to this kind of erratic policy shift that we have in the US right now. But because we export only crude, and of course, most of our African brothers don't need crude; they need refined products, which we don't produce. So I see it as an opportunity, really, to also look again at our oil and gas sector to implement necessary reforms that needs to be implemented to rein the huge amount of criminalities and dysfunctionalities in that sector, such that our refineries can actually begin to produce refined products. And a lot of me say about the Dangote refinery, but there are reasons to also, there are insinuations, reasons to believe that even the Dangote refinery may be a farce, that the guy is just importing refined products and not actually producing.
Wow.
That's in the realm of speculations. We officially, they want us to believe that we are getting products out of the Dangote refinery, but we need to also, in the public domain, we also have a responsibility to actually make sure that we check out these rumors. If they are true, then of course it shows that the Nigerian economic situation is in an extreme parlor state indeed. So we cannot even refine enough product in terms of oil and gas for domestic use, and talk less of now being able to take advantage of NAFTA to export refined products to other African countries and other countries in the world that certainly need these products. So for me, it's an opportunity for us to look again at our oil and gas sector, the kind of policies that have been pushed over time, and the dysfunctionalities in that sector, and perhaps bring pressure to bear on the government to do what it takes to actually put that sector in a trajectory that it will be able to, that will make it actually contribute the kind of catalyst that it should to national economic development.
Very true. Lots of conspiracy theories here and there. Unfortunately, everything it trills or tails down to Nigerians, and this is really very so unfortunate. You talked about looking inwards. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria are really not finding things easy. A couple of hours back, we learned that fuel had increased again to 955 naira to the liter. And all of these things, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria are definitely going to bear the brunt to some of these issues. How do you think they can go about survival in Nigeria, despite all of this many challenges that we have?
Talking about manufacturing, the risk sector of the economy, again, we cannot but be very sad at the present trajectory of the state of affairs. Of course, we all remember that immediately Mr. President announced his signal policy of fuel price increase and national currency deregulation. Of course, there was the spike in fuel prices, as well as gross devaluation of the national currency. The manufacturing sector bore the brunt. Major international multinational companies, and of course hundreds of other companies. In fact, going by the public cry out at the time, over 1,000 major industries closed down, with over 1 million workers displaced, thrown into the job market. And the situation has not actually substantially improved since then, since 2023, when those policies were announced. In fact, it was, right now, it will appear that the full impact is being felt across all the major sectors of the economy right now. And I think that's why man, again, has to come out to say that government has to do something about the fact that productive capacities are being crippled, fuel is not available, electricity remains a challenge despite sharp increases in tariffs. And without electricity, without fuel, the productive sectors will continue to be in jeopardy. Factor costs will continue to increase. And that will also mean that the prospect for jobs for young people will be dismal. We just talked about oil and gas. Now we're talking about manufacturing. These are the critical sectors. And we can't see any definitive direction in terms of government policy direction and initiatives to revamp the situation and put the national economy on a course of constant growth and development. So we still export crude. And then whatever comes from crude, we also know how it is being managed. We talk about how young people have been awarded $100,000 like this just now, which is an illustration of the priorities and the absolute lack of responsibility in terms of managing the little that is coming in. It has been said that Nigeria is a very rich, poor country, rich in resources, but extremely poor because of the lack of scientific management of available resources. We can talk about solid minerals. In other parts of the world, solid minerals actually are harbingers of development because they provide critical raw materials for industry and for industrial development. But here, we do not even, I'm not sure we have an accurate mapping of our solid minerals, who are the actors, where are the mines, who are the miners, what is being mined, what is the volume of output from these mines, what are we hearing from these mines. All manner of people are dominating in this sector, fueling all manner of criminalities and banditry. It has been reported that the mines have actually become the hotbed of banditry because the legal miners are the ones harming, those mining enclaves to make sure that they dominate those enclaves. They are able to subject the local people to maximum exploitation, and they go away with these crude minerals, while Nigeria is shortchanged once again in terms of solid minerals. So anywhere you turn, we see absolute lack of governance and serious attention to the details that matter in terms of putting structures in place to ensure that things work the way they should, and we're able to get the maximum amount of benefits from these natural resources. And so Nigeria remains a poor, rich country.
Nigeria remains a poor, rich country. Very sad reality, but the picture has been painted and endorsed by our leaders. And from the 70s to the 80s, Nigeria used to be the true giant of Africa. We produced everything that we ate and we consumed. In 1985 upwards, with the structural adjustment program as accepted willingly by the then military head of state, Muhammad IBB, everything collapsed.
IBB.
Yes, everything collapsed, and every manufacturing in Nigeria dwindled, and we started importing more because we felt it was cheaper, and everything just fizzled away, unfortunately. We truly do hope that a time would come when we would regain back what we have lost, and hopefully, and that is when we have intentional leaders that will spearhead some of these things. And just to let you know, ladies and gentlemen, that my guest will still be here to take us on our main conversation in a bit. That is when we will return. FCT Police bust family plot to fake kidnap for ransom. That is a human angle story. We'll be right back. It's still Enterprise Morning. Please don't go anywhere. All right, thank you so very much for joining us. And if you're still with us, this is still Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's head straight to our conversation for today. The FCT Police Command has arrested 4 individuals, including 2 sisters, Joy and Jikwoyi Innocent, for staging a fake kidnapping to extort 5 million naira from their father. The incident came to light after Mr. Innocent reported his 16-year-old daughter missing on July 30th. 2025, prompting an investigation by the Jikwoyi Police Division. Police discovered the girl was comfortably staying with the wife of one of the accomplices, Mayowa Adedeji, and showed no signs of distress. Further investigations revealed that she was a willing participant in the staged abduction. Joy Innocent, her boyfriend Mayowa, his wife Tina Mayowa, and lead Way Innocent all confessed to the crime and are currently in police custody. The FCT Commissioner of Police Ajao Sunday Adewale condemned the act, labeling it as a serious betrayal and manipulation. He urged parents to be more attentive to their children's emotional and behavioral changes as investigation continue, with all suspects expected to face charges in court. I still have with me Mr. Gbenga Okomolafe. Thank you so very much, sir, for hanging on.
Thank you.
All right. So this is a human angle story, and it's so very important that we talk about it, because many a times we blame our government for not providing this and not providing that. Security deficit in the country. Often we blame them for not ensuring that this is adequate enough for Nigerians. But when we look inward, we equally do not ask ourselves, what are we doing wrong? And this is a textbook example. Just imagine a family trying to reap off something from the household owner of the house. It's very, very ridiculous. I'd love to have your take on this particular matter just before we get deeper into the conversation.
Well, it's interesting that you are actually bringing this story up after, discussing some more fundamental elements of our socio-economic realities. We just talk about a collapsing educational system. We talk about the fact that reproduction is not going on in the country. The real sector is collapsing. There are no jobs for young people. And apart from that, young people are also observing what's going on. That's why most people have no jobs, while the minimum wage remains a slave wage that cannot provide for anybody. They say our politicians live in large. And every day you listen to the news, you hear about grand corruption, billions of naira being stolen by politicians and politically exposed people. Young people say all of this. There are no jobs, nothing for them. And so it's becoming increasingly a culture that permeates every fabric of the society to look for an income. Every day you hear stories of scams, of Ponzi schemes, all manner of Ponzi schemes, fleecing people of the little they have, billions of naira, be stolen by very few criminally minded Nigerians who also want to live big, So what we have here is a symptom of a general malaise that is eating deep into the fabric of our society. Get rich by all means, or you die trying. people indulge in all manner of criminalities. Even our religious organizations have also come under spotlights about conduct of religious leaders that seem to only be mindful of how to extort money from their followers. So it's a malaise that is eating deep. Somebody call it symptoms of disaster capitalism. People want to make money by every means necessary, while the productive sectors, the opportunities for people to actually thrive are not there. And so you have all these criminalities festering in every aspect of our social life. So what we have here with this family is just a symptom of a general malaise. That does not excuse it, That does not mean that the individuals will be absolved of their crimes, but it will be lazy to just comment about the perfidy of what has happened and just leave it at that.
It's very true. You remember we just finished talking about the poor WAEC results, the worst in 5 years, and how that young people are no longer interested. Right now, when you go to social media's platforms where you see young people like TikTok and all, you see them stating that school is a scam. And the reason is because with the proliferation of social media, it's easier for them to make money. It's easier for them to see their mates that are living better and want to equally become like that. Do you think there's a problem with the family? The family not doing what it should do, because the family is a small circle of a larger society. So do you think there's something the family unit is not doing? If it is, what exactly is it they should start doing?
Yeah, the family unit actually is the bedrock of every society, because that's where younger generations are nurtured and prepared to be responsible citizens. And when you now have a situation where the basic economic foundation of the family itself is threatened, the breadwinners don't have jobs, the papa has been laid off, the mama that is trading or managing somewhere outside this or her shops demolished. And that's another critical issue, the spate of evictions, mindless evictions that we have, especially in big cities like Lagos. People are living and managing their life how best they can, legitimately, and then government comes and just evict them. And they become homeless, they become jobless. So all of this leads to the collapse of the family itself. I was one involved in a project that involved trying to rehabilitate street children and all of that. And we discovered a lot of kids. The project was around Agege area. And we discovered a lot of little kids on the streets are actually children of people that have suffered eviction. So the parents are relocated out of Lagos. Some of them went with their parents initially, but they couldn't cope with life in the rural areas, and the little kids found their way back to Lagos, living on the streets, So the challenge is that there's a lot of economic and social pressures on the family unit. People are losing livelihoods, and when the breadwinners lose livelihoods, the structure of the family collapses, because the most basic provisions cannot be made available for the kids, and of course some of them end up on the streets and come under all manner of nefarious influences, and not to talk of the larger pressures of the contradiction that we all observe of leaders that had no profile before they got to public office. And once they get there, they become instant billionaires. Young people see these things. And of course, the jobs are not there. The educational system itself is collapsed. And so it might be a little bit, constricted to just blame the family unit for what we're having now. Outside the larger socio-economic pressures that people are living under right now, and the collapse of livelihoods, and now these are all exerting tremendous pressures on most families right now. So it still all come down to the fact that we do not have the right kind of political leadership, the right kind of direction that can also, impact on even the basic ethics of life. So, if public life is criminalized, which is what we're having right now, We cannot expect private life to become epitomes of purity and, So the micro is a reflection of the macro. Yeah.
The micro is a reflection of the micro. I'm talking about the macro. You talked about socio-economic pressure, and looking at the profligacy of the macro, those at the top echelon of a government, it is really sad. In 2024 budget in Nigeria, the Aso Rock Zoo had a budget of over 300 million naira to feed animals. Animals, over 300 million was budgeted in 2024 budget. We do not know how much is going to be budgeted or how much is being placed for the Aso Rock Zoo in 2025 budget. But I'd love you to speak to the profligacy of those in government. You talked about micro and macro. Let's be concerned about the macro now, because if it's better at the top, it will trigger down to those at the bottom.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think that's where we actually started the conversation. And the fact that those in leadership don't seem to actually have a focus and a direction of how to grow an economy and how to build a social fabric that will sustain the whole 220 million of us. It will seem that the focus is on now a few privileged and powerful people who will help themselves to whatever is available, while most Nigerians who are left to their own devices. And so we have a situation where the little we have, because they say Nigeria is oil rich, but the point is that the oil itself has been so thoroughly mismanaged. We are getting only a little fraction of what we should be getting from oil, and this little is just being brazenly stolen, and that's the truth. Government has become a scheme to just steal public funds, and so people can see this. People can all see it. The productive levels of the economy has been collapsing consistently. It's not just starting, and it keeps getting worse. So the political elite seems to have taken for granted that there's nothing Nigerians can do. Maybe a few people will go and protest once in a while. And of course, government seems to have learned how to even contain that, to make such protests ineffectual, while the protesters are labeled with all manner of, very unflattering names. So at the end of the day, I think the onus will be on Nigerians to take their own fate into their own hands, to continue to ask the critical questions, to continue to agitate and mobilize to demand for good governance, for judicious utilization of available resources, to be able to derive maximum benefits for the largest amount of people. So this remains the crucial challenge. We have to reconstruct the civil society, because it will appear that even the civil society itself has also collapsed under the weight of economic and social pressures. We have to reconstruct the civil society. We have to build strong levers of civil pressures on the power holders.
But I would love to ask you, sorry for interjecting, you talked about the civil society organizations collapsing under economic pressure. If you juxtapose it with what we observed or experienced during the military era, what do you think is the difference? Because the civil society organization during the military era were robust. There were some of those they were feared by the military. So what do you think is the difference under civilian rule today?
Well, a lot of factors. The first thing really is that under the military, it was much more easier to organize because the general perception was that the military was an aberration.
Okay.
And what people saw as social and economic hardship at the time was simply, explained away. That it's because the soldiers are empowered. They don't know how to govern. They don't, it's not their business. They should go back to their barracks. It's not their business to be in government. They don't know how to run governance and so on and so forth. These were the general perceptions. And so it was easy to forge, strong civil resistance to the military and to demand for civil governance. But to appear 25 years after the fact, 25 years since 1999, I think it's time to begin to take stock. It's begin to ask critical questions. Is civil governance necessarily better? It's becoming apparent to some of us that perhaps civil governance is not necessarily better.
So what's the alternative to you?
Some even argue that
what then could be the best alternative?
That civil governance is becoming an aberration. There are most countries in Africa that it's not working, especially this regime of mere political electoralism. We do have these periodic elections, and it has become an end in itself. Running for election and winning election has become the beginning and the end of governance. People right now, they are all preparing for election again. Every effort is on how to steal the maximum amount of public resources to build huge war chest for elections in 2027. Nobody is thinking about anything about how education sector will work, about how manufacturing can be revamped. There's no serious thinking going on in that direction. Everything's about electoral politics. So we are beginning to also question the credibility of a system that has prioritized electioneering and electoralism as an end in itself, and has defined democracy as a process of just passing the baton from one set of people who seem to have absolutely no sense of responsibility to the rest of us. So we had those assumptions in those days. And so it was easy to unite and fight. But now, there is the illusion of democracy. A lot of the old fighters have themselves found accommodation in the electoral, in the so-called democratic system. Some of them have become even spokespersons of the electoral, of the so-called democratic whatever we're having now. And so there has been a lot of cooptation, there has been a lot of incorporation of those who used to be very critical and so on. And that's why I talk of the need to reconstruct the civil society, because what we had actually collapsed, under all manner of false assumptions. So we have to get back to a trajectory that begin to raise serious questions. 25 years after, we need to start asking the critical questions. It's on record that after the Civil War, it was the military that laid some of the basic groundwork of what we call public infrastructure in Nigeria.
Very well.
Over 40,000 kilometer road were constructed. You had the Nigeria Airways with 40 aircraft. You had the shipping line. They introduced Fadama farming, 11 river basin authorities. For the first time in Nigeria, dry season farming. The military did that. They built first-class universities.
Very well.
You know, and of course, we all know the state of our hospitals at the time. You know, so we can go on and on. Manufacturing by the early 80s, just when you know, we came out of there was that transition in 1979. Nigeria was having close to 30% manufacturing manufacturing contribution to the GDP was coming to almost 30%. You had the textile mills everywhere. We had 4 functioning refineries. 3 of those refineries were built by this same military. So it's time for us to now take stock. Well, what have we achieved with the so-called democracy in terms of economic growth and development, in terms of building modern structures of, you know, a contemporary industrial society? All we hear is that people should go and learn tailoring, we should all go and learn vocational. It's a lot of rubbish. It's a lot of bullshit. How do you, a country of 230 million people, I want to limit everything to vocational, whatever. And the only song we keep hearing everywhere is empowerment. And what's this empowerment? You train women, you train youth on how to paint, how to do tailoring, how to. It's just a lot of distraction. No country of this size makes any headway without industrialization, without conscious, determined, deliberate, intentional, and systematic economic planning. It just doesn't happen. It must be a disciplined elite in the leadership of the country must plan it, must execute it with deliberate and disciplined intention. These guys have proven over time in the past 25 years that they are absolutely incapable of undertaking this task. And that's why I said the civil society needs to reconstitute itself. And we need to start asking the very serious questions, you know, and redefine the way forward, because we just simply can't continue like this. And when you look at the options available, now you're having ADP, APP, all of them, they are the same people. They are the same people, with the same orientation, with the same. Nobody is saying anything new. Nobody is saying anything new. If you take ethnic and tribal sentiments out of our politics, there's nothing. Absolutely nothing. Some people want to say it's this one they prefer, but the person you say you prefer is saying that he will do exactly the same thing that those in government are doing. So how does that constitute an alternative?
So how do we press? How do we press on the default button now? How do we do it? Is it that we need to possibly disenfranchise all of these people who have been a mayhem to the Nigerian state? How do you think is the best way we can go around all of these things so we can start afresh? Is it ever possible to even start afresh? So we can get it going like when we had it from 1970 to 2000 and to 1999?
Yeah, well, that's what I try to make reference to when I made the point that we need to reconstitute the civil society. We need to build a movement for change that has a very sharp and clear idea of how to move forward, of how to achieve economic and social development. A movement that has to redefine the responsibility of public office for public service and for public service delivery. So it's such a movement that we're able to make the right kind of demands and hopefully may even crystallize into a political movement that will actually prefer serious alternative for Nigerian people. That look, we can't continue this way. We've been doing it for 25 years, it's not working. We've got to try something new. And so we need to build such a mass movement. That's my own opinion. I'm not one to canvass for the military to come back. At any rate, the military as it is now, as an institution, is not immune to the general decay
Very well.
that we are suffering from right now. So we need to build a movement that really bring on board people of conscience. My experience has shown that most Nigerians are still good people. These people messing everything up do not represent us. We are not, all of us are not like this.
Very well.
They are very good people, very good Nigerians. All we need to do is to organize ourselves, come together, build a movement to rescue our country, rebuild our country that, in a way that it will work for most, if not all of us. Unlike what we're having now, that it's only a tiny few that are creaming off everything, while leaving everybody else in a state of parlous social and economic underdevelopment.
Thank you so very much. Yes. Yes, it's actually very interesting that we took our matter, from the irresponsibility in the micro unit, which is the family of sisters who came together to fleece their father of 5 million naira, and we took it to the macro level, where we have leaders who are equally in cahoot to fleece Nigerians of what is due them. But let's come back to the unit again. My last question to you is, what do you think the father of these young lads, young children, should do now that his kids are being taken to court? As a father, as a father, do you think it's good for the man to just, blood is thicker than water? Do you think it's good for them to just take that out of the court and settle, or allow the law to take its course in this particular matter?
It's very easy to just say, the law should take its course. And so we can have a deterrence, at least. You have a reference point that we can use to also advise and admonish other young people. That, look, if you do this, these are the implications. Because it's not enough to condemn people at the top. It's also important to make sure that when this kind of travesties are discovered, that they are also punished. It's important that they are punished. If there is no punishment, then you can't escape people also going away with the impression that you can do anything. Any crime can be settled. Yes, and that, which is the general sentiment, actually, that anybody can do anything, can be settled, and so on. So from that perspective, I want to argue that the law should take its course, and these people should really be punished for the heinous crime that has been committed. If you look at that narrative, the police said they found these people. They were just chatting. They were just
enjoying themselves, hoping that the ransom would come.
The money is coming, and this is not the first time. I remember a similar story. The other time was it a civil defense call?
Yes, a civil defense. Two sisters, yes, two sisters. One is working with the civil defense, the other one is working with the custom or immigration. They came together to fleece of their brother, their elder brother, 30 million naira.
Yes. So you can imagine that. These are not necessarily jobless people. These are not young people, and they are doing that so their own brother, So these things become rife, because this is what the people see their leaders do, but that would not be an excuse to encourage licentiousness, to say that because the leaders are doing it, we should also excuse these small ones. I think once in a while that the police does its job, because the general perception in Nigeria is that police doesn't do anything. In fact, that the police most often work in cahoots with the criminals. You know, that's the general perception. And that perception is grounded in people's experience, you know. So, but once in a while they seem to do their work, then we should allow the law to take its course.
Very well. Very so well. Thank you so very much, Mr. Gbenga Komolafe, for being here. We truly do appreciate your discussion, and we hope to do this once more any other time you are opportune. Thank you so very much, sir.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
All right. So that's just about the time we have. The truth remains that Nigeria, which is a larger society, can only get better when pockets of other micro societies, which starts from the family, gets its act right. When we have family members coming together to defraud members of the same family, what then do you expect from a larger society? We hope that Nigeria would be a better place, and hope that we as citizens will come together for the great good of our country. Thank you so very much once more for being part of our show today. Please do well to visit us. You can actually read up on everything we've talked about today when you visit us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally rewatch and share everything we've equally talked about when you see us at enterprisetvnews.com. I am Henry Gwebike. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye from me. Cheers.